Greetings all, and welcome to Boiler Room Detective. I'm your host, Ray Wolforth. Today I'm honored to share with you a video by industry legend Bob Hot Rod Rohr. Hot Rod is one of the smartest and nicest experts in the industry. He is a winner of the Carlson Houlihan Industry Award of Excellence and always willing to help a tech on the heatinghelp.com website. His articles have been featured in many of the industry trade magazines, and you may have heard his Coffee with Caleffi videos. Today he's talking about troubleshooting backflow preventers.
Hot Rod here. Today I want to talk about this little ASSE 1012 vented double check or dual check backflow preventer. Commonly seen on hydronic systems on the fill valve. Very simple valve, easy to install and service. If you see what's inside that, helps you better understand what could cause this to leak, drip, seep, spray, whatever the case may be. So first thing you can do is take this off and you'll find a little strainer there. Often if you have a low flow condition, fill in the boiler, that could be plugged up. Doesn't take much to plug up that very fine mesh strainer. So when water first comes onto this, I'll show you what happens inside here. There's a little spool inside here and a spring, and the water pushes this spool in, pressure coming in, the incoming pressure, and it has a little brass face at the end of it, and it seals against that O-ring in there, and that's what shuts off this port. Otherwise the water would come in here and come right out the port, which we don't want that. So first thing that happens is that'll be pushed in by the water pressure. Next thing happens, there's a little check. The first check in there will pop open. You can see that in there. Water goes through the center chamber, and then there's the second check in there. Usually what happens is you'll get something stuck in there, and it's going to be something like this. A little piece of Teflon tape gets in there, gets between that first seat, might get in one of the other check valves. If you split it apart here at this nut, which is usually a fine thread with an O-ring, comes apart pretty easily, you can take all the pieces out and you can get in there and clean out any debris. Couple things about this. It should have a discharge tube down to the floor. Your code will tell you typically where that needs to be discharged to within probably 6 inches of the floor. So knowing that this can or will spray someday, you want to have a tube on that so it doesn't spray on the top of your boiler over your electronic controls or something like that. So those are really the things that you want to look for when you see one of these valves installed. Make sure it's been put in the right direction. Obviously there's a flow error on it right there. Make sure the strainer is clean. If it is dripping or something like that, just split it apart like here, and oftentimes you find maybe some Teflon tape, some sand, some dirt, some rust, some solder, copper shavings, whatever the case may be. Usually you can clean that out. Even though it has a fairly good strainer in it, small particles can still get through there, and that's what causes these to fail. If you have one of these that discharges occasionally, usually when you're not there, what can happen to this valve, if you have a water hammer somewhere in the piping connected to this, it will cause that little cartridge to just jump like that. As the pressure goes up and drops down below the pressure coming into it, it can cause it to just spray for just a second. So it goes away, you come by it, there's a puddle under it, you can't see anything wrong with it. That's probably what happened, is you had a water hammer that caused that cartridge to just jump or chatter in there for a second and just sprayed out a little bit. It's doing its job. You know, if it loses pressure, it's supposed to open up and allow the fluid to discharge so it doesn't go back into your building water system. So those are just some of the little tips and tricks about backflow preventers. Thanks.